Genetics have moved forward a lot. There is a problem of diversity and representation. So most of our genetic knowledge in every field comes from European ascending populations. Other ethnicities are poorly studied. Latin Americans, they even have an additional problem that are mixed. So we have a mixture of genetics.
Fellow Homo sapiens, welcome to or welcome back to Epilepsy Sparks Insights. Now, let me introduce to you today a person who, by his own words, is researching genetics and epilepsy with a Latino twist, clinical neurogeneticist Eduardo Pérez Palma from Chile. Today, Eduardo shares with us the value of genetic testing in epilepsy, the need for diversity and representation in genetic research, hence his fabulous work, which we'll hear about shortly, and his cool congress coming up very soon, their first congress in epilepsy genetics in Latin America, actually, not one to be missed. Please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, so that we can educate regarding the epilepsies to more and more people around the world, from Asia to Africa, from North America to South America, from Europe to Australasia, and who knows, even Antarctica.
I am a scientist by engineer at the beginning, and then I slowly went into bioinformatics, genetics, and computers. So I work there. And I'm very much interested in neurogenetics, especially epilepsy. And I've been studying epilepsy since almost 8 years from now. So it's been quite a ride. Met a lot of interesting people.
From around the world. Yes. Beforehand, we were talking about the States, we were talking about Germany. Yeah, it's a global collaboration, right, in this field?
Yes, unavoidable, especially with the developmental epileptic encephalopathies. Most of them are, all of them are rare, with low prevalences, incidences. So it's you have to work with other people, otherwise you cannot group together information and see patterns, identify new things. It has to be like that.
Tell us about the value of somebody in your role when it comes to epilepsy, because most people there might think of a neurologist. Loads of people haven't even heard of an epilepsy nurse, let alone an epileptologist or a neurosurgeon. Why is your role important?
I did ask that question at the beginning, because in the pursuit of knowledge as a scientist, every knowledge it's valuable by itself. So it's a good endeavor, and you can dedicate your life to that. But when it comes to something like epilepsy, a disease that people are waiting for solutions, it changes your orientation as a scientist. I remember my first epilepsy conference. I went into a patient discussion session, and clinicians were discussing what the patient had and showing pictures of MRIs and everything else. It was quite a while ago, and I heard that, somebody raised their hand and said, what if we do a genetic test? And the person that was on the podium said, yeah, it's interesting, but what we can do with that is it's cute. I think it used the word that it's good to know, it's interesting, but we have to treat the patient. So this is not useful. And a lot of things has happened since then. And now I see whole sessions dedicated to genetics in epilepsy. We see new treatments tailored to some specific patients. We see changes in management due to genetic tests and etiological diagnosis. So it's been quite a ride to being able to witness that and contribute to that too.
I guess it's quite an exciting time to be alive and working in the sphere, isn't it? Because things are just going.
A couple of years we were discussing if it was even useful, and now we're in need of more genetic testing. So I love that, and I think good things will come in the future too.
In your role, I know you have your own lab and own group of people. How does that work? So
first, we recruit patients from all over Chile and even some countries from Latin America. Mm-hmm. And we do a special genetic test. We take this saliva or blood, and then we send that to be sequenced.
Is it the whole genome sequencing or exome sequencing?
We do something new. It's called a blended genome exome that combines both
Swish.
in a cost-efficient way. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So you're able to identify new things, new pathogenic things within the exome. That is the coding portion of the whole genome. But then on the rest of the genome that doesn't have genes, let's say, you have low coverage sequencing that allows you to do common variant analysis, polygenic risk scores, ethnic calculations. So I'm quite interested in that.
Oh, so am I. Why are you interested in that part of things?
You know, genetics have moved forward a lot during the last years, but there is a problem of diversity and representation.
Right.
So most of our genetic knowledge in every field comes from European ascending populations. So other ethnicities are poorly studied, and Latin Americans they even have an additional problem that are mixed. So we have a mixture of genetics that is not a thing on its own. So you have two main components, Amerindian and European. So those two components interact with each other, and I'm quite interested in finding out what happens there, if there is any differences. So this special sequencing technique allows us to do those analyses. You can see, for example, with this sequencing, you can paint chromosomes and see what portions of your genome belongs to some ethnicity, to European. So this is a European section that you have that could contain a whole gene within it, and some Amerindian ascending genes. So that's that interaction with rare and pathogenic variants from the exome it's quite interesting. So we're working a lot with that, and it's a new thing. So it's an opportunity too to develop new methods and that kind of stuff. Tell
us a little bit more about the DEEs and the work that you are specifically doing to help people affected by these.
During my career, when I started in the epilepsy world, I work a lot with awesome people like Andreas, Dennis, Rike, and I got involved in the description of the phenotypes. So they were aggregating patients and identifying how this specific encephalopathy behaves. I actually, during my postdoc, I was almost raised by patient family foundations. I was funded at the beginning by Dravet Foundation to do my postdoc. So I went right into the DE world, and we identified a lot of information, how patients evolve, what features do they manifest, and so on. But then when I came back to Chile, the main challenge is diagnosis. So through research, we are working on identifying the cause of the DEEs, and along the way, we will accumulate enough numbers to describe specific cohorts. But at the moment, we're working a lot on sequencing patients, undiagnosed patients that live the diagnostic odyssey. So we're offering and doing a lot of genetic testing and handling the information ourselves. So we do all the data analysis, variant interpretations. We even deliver a report that so the participants know what, if the test is positive, to know what is happening. So that's our small contribution. And of course, during this process, we're creating a cohort that is growing a lot, that can be compared with what it's known out there, and talking to a lot of people to see, hey, do you have somebody with a variant in this gene, and so on. So we can see if there is a match, and we can aggregate patients and clinical information. So to understand the disease. So that's the next step.
And so if we have any clinicians, researchers, or even patient families interested in, being involved in some way or contributing in some way, is that a possibility?
Recruitment is possible from South America.
Any country in South America?
Sure. Sure. Of course, funding is limited, and we have restraints, but we've done it before, and that's possible. Also, we take our time. We're not as fast as a genetic testing company, and it's not the objective. This is research, so that's also really important to make it clear. It's a different orientation, and and this is something that you can always ask to any research group if they have some unresolved patients, maybe a variant within an obscure gene that you suspect. Maybe we have somebody there with a similar variant on the same gene, and maybe 2 is not an exception anymore. So then we can start aggregate numbers and see what happens. And so you need to talk to different groups.
Check out the fabulous Eduardo. There'll be contact details or links to your profile everywhere. And also, everybody, make sure that you check out the website for Eduardo's conference coming up in January. And what's it titled, Eduardo?
It's the Primer Congreso Latinoamericano de Epilepsias Genéticas, or the first Congress in Epilepsy Genetics in Latin America. And it's something that we have been working on a lot. We are quite proud of the lineup of speakers that we have.
I am impressed. Wow. Yeah.
A lot of cool people are coming, and the idea is to share and talk to each other. We will have different perspectives from family, foundations, scientists, clinicians, industry. And it's not limited to Latin America. We will translate everything alive. So the idea is that everybody's welcome. And it will be the first time that we will have something like that here. So we're quite proud of it, and working a lot to get the most out of that event.
Well, if anybody needs any convincing, several of the fabulous speakers at this conference have been Epilepsy Sparks Insights guests. I'll put their names below as well, so you can check out these great speakers. And of course, you'll get to hear Eduardo speaking live as well. So that's something not to miss.
Thank you. It was very nice to be here.
Thank you so much to Eduardo for sharing with us his research into developmental and epileptic encephalopathies in Latin America, and his cool, first of its kind in Latin America, his conference on epilepsy genetics, which has some fabulous people attending and speaking. Do check it out. Also, check out more about Eduardo and his research on the website torierobinson.com, where you can also access the podcast, the video and the transcription of this episode. And if you haven't already, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to the channel. Share this episode with your friends, colleagues, family members, whoever it might be, and see you next week.